Hello everyone, welcome back. Before we get into today's fragrance video, here's a quick update on the current situation in the UK as we face the growing worldwide crisis. Following shows of support with people applauding health service staff at 8 PM on Thursdays in the UK, there's going to be a similar display of support for supermarket delivery drivers on Wednesday this week. That's scheduled to take place in a time slot somewhere between 2 PM and 9 PM. Fears for perfumer Roger Dove have grown as it's confirmed that a common symptom of the virus is a complete loss of taste. And following reports that the Russian government released lions on the streets of Moscow to keep people at home there, we're now hearing that Phil Collins has volunteered to perform a live concert from his home and have it broadcast on big screens in British parks to prevent people from congregating there. Hello everyone, welcome back to all of you in the Smelly Army. I hope everybody out there is doing well. So today we're going to have a look at what I'm calling ways to smell like a modern man. So I've picked a top 10 masculine modern fragrances. So fans of my channel, regular viewers will know that I'm quite fond of the old school classic fragrances from the 70s and 80s and maybe of some more modern creations that smell a little reminiscent of those, and I think those are great. I also like the idea of men's fragrances that do have a masculine aura about them, perhaps notes of leather, woods, tobacco. Now that doesn't have to mean that they smell old-fashioned. So what I've done today is pick out 10 relatively recent releases that allow you to really smell manly, classy, have that testosterone aura about them to me in a good way, but don't smell like your uncle from the 1980s, or that you don't have to smell like you're from the past with these. So these are for guys who appreciate the idea of a manly smell but don't necessarily want to smell dated. So I hope I've succeeded in picking up absolutely with 10 absolute crackers. Some of them designer, some niche, all released since the year 2000, and most of them much more recent than that. So let's get stuck into it, no particular order. First choice then, never mentioned on my channel before, it's Aramis Tobacco Reserve, a 2018 release, and this got a bit of talk when it came out, and justifiably so. Very affordably available now. Perfumer for this one, Edouard Flechier. The notes in the top, you've got clary sage and cassis, which is another way of saying a black currant note, really. In the mid, you've got nutmeg, orris, and tobacco leaf, and the base notes are tonka bean, oak moss, what they call it oak moss fragrance, so probably not real oak moss, but an accord which smells similar to the old oak moss that we used to have in fragrances. So this one, a really, really classy tobacco fragrance. Actually, tobacco is far from the only thing that you're going to notice here. It's a woody fragrance, it's a little bit spicy. Many people have picked up on the fact that it's very creamy, it's very elegant, there's a certain herbal tone, and there's a little bit of sweetness in there with this one. So Aramis Tobacco Reserve, it's classy. It's got that tobacco note that we tend to associate with being a sort of a masculine type of smell, but it's got a lot more in there. There's a lovely creamy, almost, I think slightly powdery vanilla undertone, and in that way the powderiness reminds me in feel of some of my favourite old school barbershop fragrances, but it definitely doesn't smell like an old school fragrance. It smells new, it smells different. It smells like a modern masculine classic. Many of these fragrances in the list will smell grown up, maybe even mature, but they don't, I don't think, smell dated, and this one fits into that category. Performance just average, smell superb, a really great creamy, spicy fragrance, and that nice note of nutmeg that you get in a lot of fragrances that I really enjoy, things like the old days By Man from Dolce & Gabbana, Cacharel pour L'Homme, and this is an updated scent that people who like some of those classics are going to really love, and definitely very much a 20-something type of smell, not a 1985 type of smell. Don't forget, if you'd like to join the Smelly Army private members club over on Patreon, there's a link in the description to do that. It costs just $2 a month and you get an extra video from me every week, plus you get to watch everything I've already uploaded in there. We're building a really nice community, lots of interaction, and I'd love to see you in there. Love that one from Aramis Tobacco Reserve. Next up, we're going for a niche fragrance. And this one is been one of my finds of the year. Just discovered it very early this year. It's from the Swedish house of Swedoft. I did a full review of this one and I really rate it highly. It's called Rasputin. This house getting a lot of talk now. You order them, they come direct from Sweden, from the company's website. They are very affordably priced for niche fragrances compared to your big hyped up niche houses. And the smell on this one is absolutely fantastic. Some people have compared it to Clive Christian's X, and there is a certain similarity. It's got a lot of ginger, which I think is a very, very nice note in fragrances. It's woody and it's spicy, and it's very, very classy. I'll give you the actual full note listing. We have bergamot, jasmine, pineapple and cardamom, patchouli, cinnamon, cloves, Mexican chocolate, cedar, oud, tonka, musk and incense. They left out the note of ginger from the listing, but I think some of the blurb on the website mentions that too. Really, really rich, woody and spicy fragrance. Very, very classy. A certain burst of freshness with the bergamot and the pineapple in the beginning. Don't worry, it doesn't smell anything like Aventus. Very, very grown-up smelling stuff. Puts me in the same kind of mood maybe as Creed's Spice and Wood. Definitely has that similarity with Clive Christian X, and a passing resemblance for me with Acqua di Parma's Colonia Intensa. Great signature scent for a man, very versatile, very good, long-lasting, strong-performing fragrance from 2018. Perfumer Sven J.A. from Sweden has done an outstanding job with this one, and like I say, great prices for a niche fragrance. No one else is going to be wearing that one. It's classy, it's definitely manly smelling to me, but it's modern too. Next up then, I just mentioned Acqua di Parma, and I'm going to include one from them. I think for a modern masculine type aura, Colonial Leather is a great, great choice. So Colonial Leather, been out a few years now. It's widely regarded as having a slightly similar vibe to Tom Ford's Tuscan Leather, about which more later, but with more of a citrus and perhaps more citrus and florals. Certainly the citrus is something we really associate with Acqua di Parma. Getting quite expensive now. They've reissued it in a slightly different black bottle, and it's way up there at £197 for 100 ml, so it's not cheap, but there are many more expensive niche fragrances. It is exquisite. Lovely orange and lemon in the opening. There's a little bit of fruity raspberry, definitely a nice, not in your face, not feminine, but a nice hint of a rose note in there. And this leather note, I think the note is actually, or the accord is Swedoff, the same chemical or ingredient that's used in Tuscan Leather from Tom Ford, and it's really, really beautiful. Classy, grown up, mature smelling, but it definitely doesn't smell old school. It doesn't smell like your old-fashioned 70s leathery accords. It's great stuff. Acqua di Parma Colonial Leather, good in performance, not beast mode, but good. So recommended for those seeking a modern masculine classic. Next up, this is a really interesting fragrance, very polarizing. It's Gucci Guilty Absolute from 2017, perfumer Alberto Marias. A very polarizing fragrance, a very, very daring scent for a designer house to come out with, and a great release from Gucci. The Gucci Guilty line, for many people, a bit underwhelming, apart from this one, the men's line of that. But this one is stunning. You've got patchouli. Other notes include, what have we got in this one? We have leather as well, cypress, woody notes of vetiver. It's definitely very woody. You get a very kind of potent combination of vetiver with patchouli, but it doesn't smell like some of the scents that had that back in the 70s. It doesn't really smell like Givenchy Gentleman or anything like that. But it's the kind of thing that the same guy who would have worn that in the 70s might now reach for. It's got a polarizing element. Some people smell it, say that it smells like a Band-Aid or a doctor's waiting room or disinfectant. I kind of can get that a bit, but I wouldn't be recommending it if I thought it smelled that way. It's very, very woody, a little bit spicy, and a very, very grown-up smell, very, very distinctive, and you try it in a store if you can. I think it's a real modern classic. Perhaps it will be discontinued soon, because I can see it's not going to be to the average punter's taste, and I think if that happens, it could become very, very sought after. So real manly juice. Well done to Alberto Marias for coming up with that one. Next up, we're going back to the world of niche fragrances. Is this maybe my favourite from Amouage ever? The unusually named Beach Hut Man. Great, great creation, this one from 2017. Perfumer Elise Bernat has created a modern masterpiece for me. So Beach Hut Man, that implies it's going to smell very maybe aquatic or like a summer holiday fragrance. It doesn't. It's a green, woody, slightly minty herbal fragrance that is pure class. If you love your old school aromatic fougères, you're probably going to love this, but it doesn't smell like it's a real out and out old school 80s, 90s, 70s aromatic fougere. You've got mint, orange blossom, galbanum, vetiver, moss, ivy, myrrh, patchouli and woody notes. So there's a little bit of a twist of incense. I get a lot of mossy greenness as well, and something unique, something magical, bit of the sort of almost it doesn't smell like many other Amouage fragrances, but their fragrances don't tend to smell that similar to your standard Western style perfumery, and this one has something special, something different about it that we hope for and want from Amouage. But it's fresh, it's green, it's grown up, it has great performance, and it is a beautiful, wonderful fragrance. A modern, masculine scent indeed. Seek this one out, guys, if you have not tried it. Don't be put off by the slightly misleading name. Okay, next up, I said I was going to talk about Tuscan Leather. I don't actually own Tuscan Leather from Tom Ford. I quite like it, but I'm happy to own this in its stead. La Yucawam from Rasasi. Widely regarded as an out-and-out clone, it is incredibly similar in smell to Tuscan Leather from the Tom Ford Private Lens blends. Both fragrances are really, really interesting and unique and recognisable. This one has notes of thyme, saffron and raspberry, jasmine, artemisia, olibanum, leather suede amber and woody notes. It's got this very distinctive note that I mentioned before, suederol. It's a really leathery, smooth, kind of macho note. Tuscan Leather, people have said it smells like cocaine. I don't know, but you definitely feel like an alpha male. You feel like a kind of out there, tough, macho kind of man, and you know, sniffing cocaine maybe might make you feel that way. I wouldn't know, but this in a much more legal and safe way, it gives you that same kind of feeling of invincibility with this very strong macho leather note. But there are some pink, kind of fruity raspberry accords which sweeten it up, and I guess this is why it smells modern. It doesn't smell mega old school. Very manly, very polarizing. Not everyone likes it. A lot of women don't seem to massively care for it, so if you're looking for a panty dropper, forgive the expression, there's no such thing, this is debatable. But if you're just interested in what you enjoy, try this La Yucawam. If you go to a store and love Tuscan Leather, you can order this for a much lower price, and rest assured it smells remarkably similar. A modern classic, absolutely, totally. Okay, now you know me, I've got to include a Creed in a list if I can. I love the House of Creed. I nearly went for Spice and Wood, which could be number 11, honourable mention list, but I've gone for Royal Oud. So Creed's Royal Oud, under the radar a bit, this one. It came out in 2011, only a year after Aventus. Many people say it doesn't smell of oud, and they're right, it doesn't have a noticeable exotic oud note. There might be a tiny bit in there, playing some supporting role, but it's not the standout note. Some people say this should be called Royal Cedar, because that's a great note that you really get from this. The notes on it are lemon, pink pepper, Sicilian bergamot, cedar, galbanum, angelica, oud, sandalwood and musk. It's citrusy in the opening, it's fresh, it's very woody, it's got a beautiful cedarwood note, and it's got this kind of peppery, ashy undertone to it as well. Really, really classy. I love Creed's Bois de Portugal from 1987. That's the old man, dated smelling classic from Creed that's really grown up and manly. This is the modern classic that's also equally classy, grown up, manly, mass appealing, but different to most of what's on your designer shelves. A modern, masculine classic, Royal Oud from Creed, in my humble opinion. Okay, so we just have a couple more to go, 3 more I think. We're going on to perhaps an obvious choice. Some of these others have been a bit under the radar. Terre d'Hermès, wonderful dirty orange, a kind of orangey accord, loads of vetiver, ISO-E super. One of the older ones in my list today. It's from 2006. It was created by the master perfumer Jean-Claude Ellena. It is a classy, grown-up, modern, total classic, very masculine smelling to me because of that woody vetiver note. An affable freshness from the orange, but a very grown-up and sophisticated smell. There are flankers, different versions. There's an eau de parfum, very good. There's an eau très fraîche, also great, but I just go with the original, the classic, timeless, brilliant, modern, but mature, a superb fragrance, a masterpiece. We have 2 left. Now we're going to talk about one that I do mention often on my channel because it's a really me kind of fragrance. It's Milano Cento Him. Actually, well, weirdly, this was first released in 1989. I've never smelled that version. It was reissued in 2016. You can now get an eau de toilette and an eau de parfum. The slightly higher priced eau de parfum is absolutely astoundingly brilliant. It has great performance. The eau de toilette has decent performance for me, but the eau de parfum may be a little bit better performance, a little bit richer, and emphasizes the base notes a bit more than the eau de toilette, but they're very, very similar. You've got all kinds of beautiful citrus smells in the opening. It's a very Italian chic kind of aura that they're trying to create with this one. It's actually an English UK brand. And the fragrance, perhaps of all the ones in this list, is the most risky that I've gone towards just smelling maybe a little bit retro and old school, but it is a kind of a modern re-release certainly, and a fragrance that I feel actually it has a hint of the old days, but it's right up there with modern classics, which I almost would included in the list, like Fougère Royale, the reissue of that from Hubigant. It's a barbershop fragrance, it's a fougère, it's fresh, it's got woody depth, it's got a lot of green kind of herbal tones, and I think it would be a great classy choice for a modern, mature gentleman. You can be any age, if you're in your 20s, whatever, but if you are mature in the aura that you give off, a grown-up type of person, if you've got your big boy pants on, very reasonably priced for a great niche fragrance. Milano Cento Him, either the Eau de Toilette or the Eau de Parfum, they're quite similar. You can sample them at Fragrance Samples UK worldwide, actually. I will link them in the description. And I'll also put a link for somewhere where you can buy this fragrance in different countries. Milano Cento Him, superb juice. One left only. This is going to be one, again, I don't think I've mentioned on the channel up till now. Zaroff Signature from the House of Zaroff. I was very fortunate to be sent this free, and I'm going to do a full review very soon. Zaroff Signature Pour Homme is a really outstanding fragrance. I'm sure many of you who watch a lot of fragrance videos will have heard of this one. It's very rich, spicy, woody, peppery fragrance. Very hard to define or categorize, but it certainly smells manly. It certainly has a modern smell. It doesn't smell in any way dated, but it has a very grown-up smell. Official note listing then, you've got oud, patchouli and sandalwood, Bulgarian rose, incense, myrrh, jasmine, there's vetiver, vanilla, lavender, black pepper and cypress. I definitely get pepperiness, woodiness, a hint of that incense note subtly playing a nice role, a bit of sweetness, a nice kind of sandalwood accord. It's very classy, very grown up. I love the bottle design and the dark juice. It was Claude Dir, D-I-R, who created this one, the Perfumer 2018 release. And I just think Zaroff Signature Pour Homme, it would be exactly as the name says, a great signature scent that not many other people are going to be wearing. Not everyone's heard of this one. So a full review coming soon on Zaroff Signature Pour Homme. Guys, thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought of my picks in the comments down below. And remember, whatever you're doing in life, let's project. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Smelly.